grade 12 learners. Welcome to today's technical mathematics lesson. My name is Matsiri Sokongwani. This lesson is brought to you by the Gauteng Department of Education in collaboration with Saibono Discovery Center. Note down our WhatsApp number, grade 12, which is 079-578-2908. So you are more than welcome to send any clarity-seeking question to that particular number. That is 079-578-2908. Okay, today we are looking at mensuration. And then under mensuration, this topic, you'll find it in both your paper 1 and paper 2, where you're calculating the volume surface area and area of the irregular shapes. So expect this grade 12 that your mensuration can be in both your papers, partially so in paper 1. And then after the completion of the lesson, you will be able to, number 1, solve problems involving volume, surface area of bright prisms, cylinders, your pyramids, cones, and the sphere. Secondly, you must be able to determine the area of the irregular figures using what? The mid-ordinate rule. There's a rule that you need to follow in order to determine the area of these irregular figures. And then now this is the pre-knowledge that you need to know. You must know all your basic solid shapes. And then you're talking to a cube. Remember, for the cube, all the sides are equal. So a cube, basically, it is made out of the combination of squares because all the sides are equal. And then with the rectangular prism, you are having a base that is a rectangle. That means two opposite sides are equal. So now a rectangular prism is made of the rectangular base. And then we have a sphere. A sphere is in the shape of the ball. That is the sphere. And then we have a cone, the one that you use for your ice cream. And then we have a cylinder, for example, a can of Coke. That is the shape we are talking to. A glass of water, we are talking to such cylinders. And then we have the pyramids. With the pyramids also, we are having different types of pyramids. It depends on the base of the pyramid. And then now we have the net diagrams for our solid shape. And then for the first one, as you can see, it can represent your cube or your rectangular prism. Okay, because it is not indicated whether it's a cube or it's a rectangular prism because it is in the shape of a box. Now, if you cut off the sides of this, you will have a net diagram. So grade 12, I want us to cut. We are going to cut here, cut that side, cut here, and cut the other side that is on the other not seen part. Okay, so if we cut those 4 sides, then this will be a flat. This will be a flat surface now. Now, which one represents this number A on your 1, 2, 3, 4? Because it is formed of the squares or the rectangles. That means this will be having how many? The below, the top, the left, the right, the back, and the front. That means we will be having those blocks, or how many of them? 6 of them. And then now they must all be blocks. Then it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That means this one goes with that particular net diagram. And then the number B, we are having the cylinder. And then if we cut off cylinder, we will be cutting that circle part and the lower circle part there. And then you cut one side of the minute you do that, you'll be forming a net shape now. And then now this will create 2 circles. And in the middle here, it will form a rectangle when you cut in the middle. That means this is the shape that goes with your cylinder. That is the net diagram, the cylinder. Please take note that this side of your cylinder, that was the circumference of that particular cylinder. And then we have a cone. When you cut a cone, if it's a closed cone, you'll be having that circular part. and then the one that is forming the triangle. That means this is the shape that goes with your cone. Lastly, we are having the pyramid, and then the pyramid will be having a base there. As you can see, you have a base here. And then on the side, you are seeing triangles there. Because this is a square or rectangular base, you'll be having 4 triangles that are joined to that pyramid. Hence, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 triangles that are attached to that particular base. And grade 12 now, here we have your baseline assessment. With this baseline, you want to check now out of the table of all the formulas that are given to you on the blue block, can you select the formulas correctly and match with the correct shape? Select the correct formula and complete the table. So now we need to select a formula for the volume of a rectangular prism and for the total surface area of a rectangular prism. The cylinder and the total surface area, the cone and the total surface area, the sphere and its total surface, and the pyramid with its total surface. So here you have a bundle of formulas on your right hand side. Yours is just to select. Why are we doing this activity grade 12? Is because on your question paper you will also be given the bundle of formulas. You must be able to know which formula goes with which one. Okay, and then let's start with that activity. I am giving you 5 minutes to go through this. Fill in the table for me. Your 5 minutes start now. Okay, grade 12, check yourself. Remember, when we talk of a rectangle, we are talking two opposite sides equal and parallel. And then the area of a flat rectangle is length by breadth. Now, if we are now talk to the volume that we are forming a container, and then this will be now LBH. That means this is the correct volume for the rectangle. It starts with the area of the base LB, and then now with the height, because it is now a container. Okay, and then when you talk the total surface area, it must talk to those length, breadth, and height. And then now we are talking to this surface area here. And then the net diagram will assist you to identify this correct. Remember, on the net, we are having 6 shapes. Do you still remember that? That is why we are having 2 or 6 calculations there. And then that means now the SA will be 2 length by breadth plus 2 length by height plus 2 breadth by height. That is for a rectangular prism. For your cylinder now, the volume of a cylinder, remember the base is a circle and the area of the circle is pi r squared. So now if it is a container, it will add a height on the area of the base. Then this will be volume is equal to pi r squared h. That means this is the volume of a cylinder. The total surface of a cylinder, remember the net, we said it will create 2 circles with a rectangle in between. And then the area of the 2 circles, that means we'll be having 2 areas of the circles. That will be 2 pi r squared. Okay, and then from here now you will be adding that circumference for the side of the rectangle. The other side is the circumference for the length by breadth. Then that will be 2 pi rh. That means this is 2 pi r squared for the 2 circles, and then the 2 pi r and the h for the height of the height side now on the rectangle that is formed. That means now the surface area for this will be 2 pi r squared for 2 circles, and then the 2 pi r for the circumference, and then the height for the side of the height on your rectangle. And then with the cone now, a cone, remember, is having that circle, and then with something like a triangular shape. And then with the cone now, we will be having a volume which is 1/3. That is 1/3 what? Pi r squared h. That means where we are having 1/3 pi r squared h, can you see now it is involved with a circle there? Pi r squared is the area of a circle. And then now with the surface area of a cone, now we are having pi r squared and the pi r s. And that s is the slant height, not the perpendicular height, okay? So that is the surface area of the cone will be pi r squared plus pi r s. And the sphere now, we are talking to the ball. If you want to find the volume, the inner part of the ball, what is the formula that we use for a sphere is 4/3 pi r cubed. For the sphere, we are using volume is equal to 4/3 pi r cubed. And then for the surface area, we are using surface area of a sphere is 4 pi r squared. Surface area will be equal to 4 pi r squared. Grade 12, never be confused by these two. They look similar. You must know the 4/3 is for the sphere, the 1/3 is for the cone. And then with the pyramid now, we cannot have a specific formula for this because now pyramids differ. We can have a pyramid with a square base, pyramid with a rectangular base. It depends on the type of a pyramid. So now when we want to draft a volume for this pyramid, we'll be having V is equal to 1/3 of the area of a base times height. And then when you talk surface area, that means this is the formula we are talking to. When you talk surface area, we will be taking these words that you see there. Surface area is the area of a base, because now these bases, they differ, plus the sum of the areas of the triangles that will be formed. For example, if your base is a triangle, that means you'll be having 3 triangles that are forming a pyramid. If it's a square, you'll be having 4 triangles, and also for rectangle, you'll be having 4. It depends on the base criteria. That is why we are using area of a base for the formula of the surface area. Is the area of a base multiplied by the sum of areas of triangles sides. Okay, grade 12, if you can master this selection, you'll never go wrong with the mensuration. Because now if you don't know which formula goes with what, it will be very difficult for you to do those calculations. Right, let's go to terminologies now, where you will be talking to prisms. We have already done that. You talk to rectangular prism. It's a 3-dimensional, it's a 3D object. That means it's a container, a 3D object. A perimeter is a distance around the shape. For example, the fence that you put around your house is the perimeter of that house. And the area is the space occupied by 2-dimensional flat surface. That means to calculate an area, you must talk to a flat surface. For example, if you want to tile a room, you are talking to a flat surface, you need to calculate the area of that particular room. I hope that is clear. And also, if you have maybe a page from your book, it's a flat surface, then you are talking to the area of the page of which represents a rectangle. It will be length times breadth. And then the surface area now, it's when you take that 3-dimensional, we've done that with the rectangular prism with the cylinder, where you are cutting off the net diagrams of those shape. You cut so that it becomes flat again. Remember, it's a container, you cut it to be flat, and then now you are looking at the surface areas, because you'll be having different shapes that you are combining together. They are areas. And then now the volume is the amount of 3-dimensional space or shape, a shape occupied. That means now when we talk volume, we take the inner capacity of a container. That is the volume of the container, the amount. It must be a 3-dimensional space that shape occupies, that particular shape which occupies. And then now let's start with the first lesson, that is on the volume. And then later we'll look at the surface areas of your solid shapes. And then here you have to calculate the volume of a box. If the length is 6 meters and the breadth is 4 meters and the height is 5 meters. And grade 12, sometimes they can just give you a statement without a diagram. So now if they say it's a box, you can draw your own box and put in the dimensions on the box, okay? And also if the dimensions are not indicated, ensure all the dimensions that are given to you are indicated on the diagram. And then now, do you still remember your formula that when you calculate the volume of a box, it's if you look at this is a rectangular base, because the sides are not equal on that base. Therefore, the base is a rectangle. So now this will be a length by breadth by height. What is the length of the box? That is 6 meters multiplied by the breadth 4 meters multiplied by the height of 5 meters. Into your calculator, straight to the answer. This is 120 what? Square meters. The unit for the area is a square identity, because it's a 2D, 2-dimensional shape. Then it's a square identity in all the calculations of, sorry, this is the volume, not an area. So it's a 3-dimensional, that will be a to the power 3. Sorry, grade 12 for that misleading. It's a container, so we are looking at the volume, and therefore it's a 3D shape, therefore it will be to the power 3 in all the units of the calculations of volumes. And then now the second one, we need to calculate the volume of the cylindrical can. if the diameter of the base is 12 centimeters. Diameter, 12 centimeters. And the height of the can is 6 centimeters. Now, do you still remember the formula for the volume of a cylinder? The volume of a cylinder is equal to what? Pi r squared h. Can you see the importance of your formula, grade 12? But if you look at this, we need a radius and a height. We do have a height, but we don't have radius. But fortunate enough, we are given a diameter. Remember, a diameter is formed of 2 radii. A radius is a line from the center to the circumference of a circle. That means now, if the diameter is 12 here, the radius will be how much? Will be half of 12, which is 6 centimeters. So, or you can calculate it and say R is equal to D divided by 2. Our diameter is 12 divided by 2, of which will be 6 centimeters. Now, happy? We have the radius. We can now substitute 6 squared with the height of 6. And then this is 6 squared times 6 times your pi. And then this will give us a 678.58 cubic centimeters, because we are talking to the volume. Then the unit will be cubed. Okay, great, Charles. The allocation of marks will be for selection of the correct formula, for substitution, and for your answer there. And then this can be 3 or 4 marks. The other mark can be given to identifying the correct radius, knowing that inside the diameter there are 2 radii. So you can divide by 2 to get your radius. Maximum mark for this can be up to 4 marks, great, Charles. And then now we are looking at a rectangular based pyramid. So they are telling you that the base of this pyramid is rectangular. And then it has a height of 12 meters. That is the perpendicular height, great, Charles. And then the length and the breadth of the base is 8 meters and 5 meters respectively. Calculate the volume of the pyramid. Now you must know your formula. Remember, the volume of the pyramid, we do not have a specific formula. We are looking at the area of a base multiply by the perpendicular height. Not any height, because you can have a slant height for this, which goes this way. So we are depending on the perpendicular height that is giving the distance from the base to the apex of that particular pyramid. So the area of a base, what is our base? Our base is a rectangle. That means it will be length times breadth times the perpendicular height. What is the length? Is 8 meters times the base of 5 meters times the height of 12 meters. And then we put this into our calculator, grade 12, straight to the answer. And then this will give us, that is 1/3 area of the base. It's 1/3. Don't forget that 1/3, grade 12. It's a pyramid. It must take a 1/3. So it's 1/3 of 8 times 5 times 12, which is 160 what? Remember, this is a volume. Then your unit will be in cubic meters, because it's given in meters. That is why we are calculating that in meters. And then let's look at the mark allocation now. The first mark will be for the correct formula of the pyramid, 1/3 of the area of a base times the perpendicular height. The second mark will be for substitution correctly. So the third mark will be for your simplified answer there. So this will worth 3 marks, grade 12. So ensure that you know how to select the correct formula then. Okay, we are still on volumes. calculate the volume of a cone where the radius of the base of the cone is 5 centimeters and the perpendicular height of the cone is 8 centimeters. We are calculating what? The volume of the cone. So that means you need a formula for the volume of a cone. Volume of a cone is equal to 1/3 pi r squared h. And then where the radius of the base of the cone is 5 centimeters as indicated there. And then this is the radius 5. And then the perpendicular height of the cone, perpendicular height is 8 centimeters. That means, grade 12, for this height, you can't substitute any height. We only substitute the perpendicular height. If you are given a slant height, you can't use the slant height. You can use Pythagoras theorem to find the perpendicular height of that shape. Now let's substitute now. We have 1/3 times pi times the radius of 5. This is squared times the height of 8 centimeters. No need for simplifying partially, grade 12. You can put everything into your calculator straight to the answer. Therefore, this is 209,44. And then this is in centimeter unit. Then it will be cubic centimeters because we are talking to what? To the volume. So it's a cubic identity volume. Continuing, the fifth activity, calculate the volume of a sphere. Volume of a sphere. Sphere is like a shape of the ball or your tennis ball with a diameter of 13,6. We are given again a diameter 13,6. But if you look at our calculation, we are mostly using the radius, not a diameter. So now we must start by finding the radius. Do you still remember how to find the radius? You say diameter divide by 2. What is the diameter? 13,6. And then we are going to divide this by 2 to get the radius. And then this will be how much, grade 12? 2 into 13 is 6 times, comma, into 16, 8 times. That is 6,8 centimeters. That is the radius for this particular sphere. And then now when you calculate the volume of this, remember the volume of a sphere. What is the correct formula, grade 12? That is 4/3 pi r cubed. And then now the next step, you do your substitution. What is the substitution now? Is 4/3 multiplied by your pi, multiply, radius is how much? 6,8 cubic centimeters. Okay, and then into your calculator, everything into your calculator, straight to the answer. You even have this pi button on your calculator. You can use that one. Okay, do not use the rounded off one of 3,14, please, because it will affect your final answer. Okay, we will only round off at the final solution. So you put everything into your calculator straight to the answer. This is giving us 1,317,09. What is the unit, grade 12? This will be in cubic centimeters. Centimeter to the power 3 exponent 3. It's a cubic centimeter. So that is how you calculate the volume of a sphere. I think I have covered all the solid shapes that we have, possibly that can be on our papers, grade 12. And then so now, I want you to try this activity on your own. This is the exam type question. We are given a geyser and then is in the form of a right circular cylinder. And then it's attached with 2 hemispheres. Do you still remember what is a hemisphere? The full sphere is a sphere, hemisphere is a half sphere. So here we are having two hemispheres, okay? And then now the radius is 3.5 meters at the ends. If its total length is 19 meters, calculate the volume of the geyser. We are calculating the total volume of that particular geyser now. And then grade 12, I'm giving you 5 minutes to answer these particular questions, and then we will reflect back after 5 minutes. Remember to send your clarity seeking question to our WhatsApp number 079 578 2908. Your 5 minutes start now. Okay, grade 12s. Now we need to look at the diagram, right? If you look at that diagram, it is having the cylinder in between this part here. It is cylindrical. It's like a can of Coke or your glass of water. And then now it is having a hemisphere and a hemisphere. Then if you combine these hemispheres now, they will form a full sphere. So that means we are looking at the volume of a sphere plus the volume of a cylinder in order to get the volume of this particular geyser. Okay, so it's the combination of those two shapes. Now we can now start now, because we now understand that we need to calculate what? The volume of a sphere. And then what is the formula for the volume of a sphere, grade 12? That is 4/3 pi r cubed, right? And then now let's substitute now. What is our radius? Radius is 3,5. That is 4/3. It is also given on your statement there. 4/3 multiplied by pi on the radius of 3,5 cubed. Right. And then now you also need to look at the volume of the cylinder. To calculate the volume of a cylinder, remember we are depending on pi r squared h. And then this is pi. What is the radius? 3,5 squared. Now we have a challenge with the height, because now this height is for the whole thing, whole cylinder, including the spheres. And then now to calculate the volume of the cylinder, we need the height of that cylinder. So we must cut off the spheres now. So we are cutting 3,5 of the radius and 3,5 of the radius. So the 3,5 plus 3,5, it is giving you how much? 7 meters. So out of this 19 now, to have the height of the cylinder, you must say 19 minus 7, of which you'll be having how much? 12 meters, grade 12. So our height here will be 12, not 19. And then now, to get the volume of the whole geyser, you must add up these two calculations to get the whole geyser now combined. So the volume of the geyser will be the volume of a sphere plus the volume of the cylinder, of which is 4/3 pi 3,5 cubed plus pi 3,5 squared into 12. And then everything into your calculator, grade 12, to the answer, that is 641,41. And the unit is in meters. Then this is the volume, then it will be cubic meters. And then now let's look at the mark allocation now. The first allocation will be for the correct formula for the sphere, correct formula for the cylinder, the substitution into those formulae for each, and then now you'll be having the addition of everything, which is your final mark. So this problem worth how many? 5 marks, grade 12. So be careful, you need to analyze your diagrams thoroughly before you can decide your solution, grade 12. Happy, I hope you managed to get this one. Remember, these are the exam time questions. Okay. Now moving forward into the next activity. In activity 2, grade 12, again is on volume. They say calculate what? The volume of a cone. Here we have our ice cream now. You calculate the volume of the cone. The cone is the lower part here of 8 centimeters. Secondly, you must calculate for me the volume of the ice cream. And then from there now, when the ice cream melts, That is the third activity. Now consider now this ice cream now is now melting. Now you want to check now, after melting, will it exactly fill the cone? And then you need to explain your answer, grade 12. Will it fit into that particular cone or not? How will you know that, grade 12? That means you need to calculate. This is the procedure as they are guiding you there. You need to calculate the volume of the cone separately, calculate the volume of the ice cream separately, and check now, does the two volume fit together or are they equal? Then if they are equal, yes, it can easily fit inside that particular cone, grade 12. And then now, this is your activity, grade 12. You are answering 1, 2, 3, and then after 5 minutes, we will be reflecting back and see now, how far did you go with this particular question? Happy you have the height of the cone, and then we have your radius being 4 centimeters as given on the diagram. Your 5 minutes, grade 12, starts now. Okay, great jobs. Let's see, how did it go now? Let's start with 2.1. We are calculating the volume of the cone. I hope you are now familiar with this. Volume of a cone, remember the formula is what, grade 12? That is 1/3 of pi r squared height, okay? Because we are checking the cone, is having the height. And then 1/3 of pi with the radius. What is our radius there? That is 4 centimeters squared. And then with the height of the cone, which is 8 centimeters. And then into our calculator, straight to the answer, grade 12. This is giving 134,04. And then this will be in cubic centimeters. That is our 2.1. And then 2.2. Let's look at the mark allocation first. Is the formula for correct formula of cone, substitution, and the correct answer. This is worth 3 marks. And then 2.2, the volume of ice cream. Now, if you look at this ice cream, that is the half sphere, okay? Remember, a sphere is full like a ball, and then if you look at this, it's only the top part of which is half a sphere. Now we will be looking at the volume of a hemisphere or half sphere, of which we'll have the equation of a sphere, of which is 4/3 pi r cubed. Now let's substitute. We are having half into 4/3 into pi, and the radius is 4 centimeters, and this will be cubed. And then now grade 12 into your calculator, straight to the answer. That is 134,04 cubic centimeters. Do you see the link there? And then now first mark will be for the correct formula, for substitution, and for the answer. So 2.2 will be 3 marks. And then now with 2.3, when the ice cream melts, will it exactly fit into the cone? Yes. Why? Because the volumes are exactly the same. Yes, it will fit. Explain your answer. The volume of a cone is exactly equal to the volume of the hemisphere, of which is equal to 134,04 cubic centimeters. Hence our conclusion. Then this will be 2 marks, 1 for the yes, and then 2 for supporting your statement, grade 12. So this number 2.3 will worth 2 marks. And then now we move on to the surface area. We are done with volumes now. Surface area, number 2.1.1, draw a net diagram. Can you see now with surface area, net diagrams plays a major role, because now we need an area. An area is a flat surface. Even though we are having a 3-dimensional shape, you need to cut it to be a flat surface. Hence they say draw a net diagram of this container here. Since it's a cylinder, you'll be having the middle part, and then the circle, and another circle there, okay? And the height of this container is 8 centimeters, and the radius is 5 centimeters. And the other side, remember this side is the circumference, that means it's 2 pi r side, okay? And then now we are done with drawing the net diagram. You'll have 1 mark for the net diagram. And then 2.1.2 now, calculate the surface area of this cylinder now. Surface area of the cylinder will be how much now? The area of 2 circles, that is 2 pi r squared, plus the area of the rectangular part, that will be length by breadth. And then this is 2 pi r squared, plus the length of this is 2 pi r, of which is the circumference cut off, and then now multiply by the breadth of this rectangular part. And then now let's substitute is 2 into pi with a radius of 5 centimeters squared plus 2 pi with the same radius of 5. And the height of this container is equal to 8. And then now straight into your calculator, grade 12, to the answer that is 40408,41. This is an area, therefore it's a square identity. It is flat, it's two-dimensional. Then it will be in centimeter squared. Area is two-dimensional. Remember, we have cut this into a flat surface like that. Then it's a two-dimensional. So first will be for the correct formulae, secondly for substitution, and the final answer there. And then now you can have for each shape there, for 2 circles, and then for the rectangular part of your shape. And then this will be worth 5 marks, grade 12. And then the surface area now, this is an open box. It's open now, it's a box like your shoe box. When you remove the lid, it's an open box like that. And then the length is 8 centimeters indicated on the diagram. The breadth is 6 centimeters as indicated on the diagram. And the height is 10 centimeters. And then now, firstly, you need to start by drawing your net diagram. Now, if we cut the sides of this, you will be having now the base. And then now the left part of your box. Let's put dimensions now. For the base, we are having 8 by 6. And then if we cut the left-hand side, it is taking 6 by 10. And also the right-hand side will be exactly the same as the left-hand side one, which is 10 by 6. Then it will be 6 and 10 also for that one, because they use the same height there, okay? And then now the back part will be the same as the front part. And the dimensions for this one will be the 8 by 10. We already have 8, it will be 8 by 10. And also this side is 8. Remember, it's 8, 8, 8 throughout. And then this will take 8 by 10. So that is the net diagram of that particular box. It is not indicated whether it's a rectangular box or it's a square box, but with rectangular, and as long as it is a box, it will be cut into the same shape of net, okay? Now, calculate the total surface area, 2.2.2. We are calculating the surface area of this particular box. Now we are going to start with the base part, this one here. Remember, if it doesn't have a lid, it will have only one side for the base. It does not have a matching part because the top part is open. But if there was a lid, it was a closed box, this bottom part, the base one, will be corresponding with the top part. So here we have only the base part, which is 6 times 8. That is for the base, plus this area, left and right, are exactly the same. It's 10 by 6. That means you can say 2 of what? 6 by 10 for left and right. For front and back, again, you are having the same 8 by 10 and 8 by 10. So you are having 2 what? 8 by 10. Okay, and then now into your calculator, grade 12, straight to the answer. That is how much? 328. And then cubic square centimeters. This is not cubic, it's a square because we are talking surface area. And then now the first mark will be for substitution correctly so, and ensuring there is no 2 here because it's an open box. So 1 mark will be for that, for second mark for the other 2 sides, the third mark for the other 2 sides, and your answer. So this will worth 4 marks, grade 12. It's an open box. And then now continuing with the surface area calculation, we are looking at the radius. We are given the radius of a hemisphere. Hemisphere is half sphere, is equal to 10 centimeters as indicated on the diagram. Calculate the surface area of the hemisphere. Remember, for the sphere, we are having a specific formula for surface area, which is 4 pi r squared. So since this one is a hemisphere, it will be half of that 4 pi r squared. So now surface area of a hemisphere will be half the formula of a surface area of a sphere, of which is 4 pi r squared. Let's substitute now. We have half multiplied by 4 multiplied by pi. The radius is 10, and this is squared. And then into your calculator, grade 12, straight to the answer. That is 628.32 square centimeters, because the unit is centimeter there. And then it's 1 mark for the correct formula halved, and then substitution into the correct formula. And then we have the final answer there. We will not penalize you for the unit grade 12, but please ensure that everything is correct. And then this is 3 marks, grade 12. And then I want you to try this one now. This is the exam type question. We are given the figure that shows a large pencil, like the pencil that you use at school, with a total length of 20. It's a very long pencil. Remember, your ruler is 30 centimeters. This pencil is 20 centimeters. And then it consists of a cone. The sharper part of your pencil is a cone. A cylinder is the middle part. And then a hemisphere on the eraser part of your pencil. And then now we have the length, with the total length of 20. Calculate the total surface area of the pencil. We are giving you 3 minutes to do that, grade 12. It's only one calculation. Try to answer that question and reflect back the solution. Your 3 minutes start now. Okay, grade 12. Let's see how far did you go with this one. Remember our WhatsApp number, 079-578-2908. Please send all your alternative solution, share with us on that particular number. Now here we are given a figure of which is a large pencil. The first thing that you need to is to identify the shape. At least they have already indicated to you that you have a cone, you have a cylinder, and you have a hemisphere here. So that means the total surface area of this pencil involves 3 calculations, okay? And then now you can even separate them and try to have the net diagrams of each grade 12 if it is okay with you. But up to so far, I think you now master the calculations of this now, because it's a repetition of what we've been doing, which we have just joined them together now. Now let's start. We are going to calculate the area of a hemisphere. The area of a hemisphere, that will be half, because now it is half of a sphere, right? 4 pi r squared. And then it's half of 4 by pi by the radius. Now we are given 8 centimeter as the diameter now. This 8 centimeter is the diameter because it's from that side to that one. Now, in order to have the radius, you must take the center of that. That means it will be 8 divided by 2. Radius will be 8 divided by 2, of which is 4 centimeters. So our radius will be 4, and then this is squared. And then now into your calculator, grade 12, this will give you a 32 pi. So we leave it like that. You go for the second surface area now. Remember, this one was for the sphere, half sphere. And then now we are going to look at the surface area of a cylinder, cylindrical part. And then this one will be what the formula is, 2 pi r squared for the 2 circles, plus 2 pi RH for the, if you cut off, and then this will be 2 into pi with the radius of 4 squared plus 2 pi with the same radius of 4. And the height of this cylindrical part here is 13 centimeters. Then it will take that 13 and then into your calculator straight to the answer. This is giving us 136 pi. And then we look at the surface area of a cone. So if you look at the formula for this is pi r squared plus pi rs. And this s is the slant height. It is your slant height. That means s is this side here. But you are given the radius of this being, the radius given as 8 there. So we want to calculate this slant height here. So we must start by calculating that. And then now we need the value of this side grade 12 in order to be able to calculate using the Pythagoras, because this is forming a 90 degrees triangle. So now what is the distance from here to the peak of that pencil there, to the sharp part of the pencil here? Remember, the total length of this pencil is 20 centimeters as given there. And then now out of 20, we have taken what? The radius of 4 for the sphere. And then now we have taken 13 for the cylinder. Then the 17 is out. How much is left out of 20 now? we are left with 3. That means this side will be 3 centimeters. You need to analyze that before you start calculating. So now to find the slant height, this slant height will be equal to the square root of, we are now applying Pythagoras, the sum of the two sides, that is 8 squared plus 3 squared. And this is giving us the size of that particular side, okay? And then now, let's now substitute grade 12. We now understand the slant height must come from the Pythagoras because it's in the 90 degrees triangle. So we have pi, the radius is still 4, this is squared, plus pi, the radius still 4. And then for the slant height, we are going to substitute the square root of 8 squared plus 3 squared. That is the slant height. And then the surface area of the cone is giving us 36 pi. This is for the sphere, half sphere, for the cylinder, for the cone. But we need the total surface area of a pencil. So total surface area of a pencil will be the surface area of half sphere, that is 32 pi, plus the surface area of a cylinder, 136 pi, plus the surface area of a cone, that is 36 pi. So we are adding all these values, they give us 204 pi. If the examiner say leave your answer in pi, but if they say round off to 2 decimal, it will be 640,88. This is an area, then it will be in centimeter square or squared centimeters, okay? It's a square identity. Now, grade 12, there are a lot of marks involved here. Number 1, we must know the correct formulas that are involved. There will be 1 mark for that. Second mark for substitution in each formula. Then this will be 1, 2, 3 for each formula. And then now for the addition of all that to get 640,88. So this can be worth 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 marks. Grade 12. This can worth up to 7 marks, okay? So it can be for substitution in each 1, 2, 3, for correct slant height 4, for addition 5, for the volumes or for the formulas of the surface area of all the shapes that you have there. So this is plus minus 7 marks. And then now we look at the area of the irregular shape. This is the easiest topic on your paper, grade 12, and most of you are not writing this. You'll get the formulas at the back of your formula sheet. It is written exactly like that. That is the area of the total area of the irregular shape, of which is A, and then this A represents equal parts. And then the M1 is when you say ordinate 1 plus ordinate 2 divided by 2 to get M1. And then to get M2 is ordinate 2 plus ordinate 3 over 2, continuously. So to get M3 is ordinate 3 plus ordinate 4, continuously up to the last ordinate there. Or if you don't use that formula, you can use this one. And then with the second one, we are still looking at the total area of the irregular shape. A is the equal parts. And then now we take ordinate 1 and the last ordinate. Ordinate n is the last ordinate, divide by 2. And then now for this one, you don't divide like that one. It's involving too many fractions. With this one, you just substitute your second ordinate, your third ordinate, up to the ordinate before the last one. That is why it is saying n minus 1. You can't substitute the last ordinate because you have already substituted there. You take an ordinate before the last one, okay? So these are the formulas. They are on your formula sheet at the back of your question papers. And then how to utilize the formulas now. The diagram shows the rectangular wall art with a partially shaded irregular shape. The shaded irregular shape has a horizontal side of which is 21. This is the horizontal side, which is divided into 7 equal parts. So that means now this is divided equally into those equal parts there. We are having 7 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then now the ordinates dividing the parts are, the first ordinate is 0,9 followed 1.1, 2.8, 3.2, 2.2, 1.8, 1.1. And then the 2.4 of which is the last one. And then this is in meters. And then you need to determine the area of the shaded irregular shape by using the mid-ordinate rule. So grade 12, it's up to you which formula you want to choose. Let's say now you decided to use the first one. The total irregular shape area is equal to A into M1 plus M2 plus M3 plus and so on up to Mn, the last one. And then remember this A represents the equal parts. So here equal parts are not given to you, but you are given the whole length when they are added together, of which is 21. That means now A will be 21 divided by the number of equal parts, of which is 7. And then in this case, it will give us a what? A 3. So now the equal parts will be 3. And then remember M1 means ordinate 1 plus ordinate 2. So that is 0,9 plus 1,1 over 2. Ordinate 2 means 1,1 plus 2,8 over 2. Ordinate 3 means plus 2,8 plus 3,2 over 2. Plus the next ordinate 3,2 plus 2,2 over 2. And then plus the next one will be 2,2 plus 1,8 over 2. Followed by 1,8 plus 1,1 over 2. Plus the last one will be 1,1 plus 2,4 over 2. And then now all of this into your calculator. Can you see that fraction is very long? So the first formula will be giving this long calculation grade 12, but eventually you will have the same answer, 41,55 square meters. That is the total area for that particular shaded irregular shape. And then now with the second formula, we are still looking at the A of total surface area. Remember this one is saying A into ordinate 1 plus ordinate last over 2 plus ordinate 2 plus ordinate 3 plus and so on up to ordinate before the last one, n minus 1. And then the equal parts is 3. And then what is ordinate 1? 0,9 plus the last ordinate 2,4 over 2. And then we can just add other ordinates here. Then that means ordinate number 2, that is 1,1 plus 1,1 plus ordinate 3, 2,8 plus 3,2 plus 2,2 plus 1,8 plus 1,1. And then remember you need to stop there. This is your n minus 1. Ordinate n minus 1 is this one. You can't take that one because you have already added from the first one there. Then you close into your calculator everything grade 12. It gives you 41,55 square meters as the previous one. So I think this one is more better than working with too much fractions, because with the second one, your fraction will only at the starting point and the rest you just add your ordinates as they are. So the second one is a little bit more easier. So now the first mark will be for correct substitution, for the correct equal parts, for the substitution, for the final answer then, okay? Sometimes they give 2 marks for substitution there. This can worth up to 4 marks then. And then now another question on the irregular shapes. The irregular figure has a horizontal straight line, which is 12 centimeters long. It is still 12 centimeters long. which is divided into 6 equal parts. Now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 parts there. The ordinates dividing the parts are 8 centimeters as indicated, 4, 6, H is not given, 7,22, 3,42, and the last ordinate is 2. And then now the length of H is the average. The length of H is the average of what? The third and the fifth ordinate. So now write down the width of each of the equal parts. 3.2.1, we need the width of the equal parts. That is the value of A. Okay, it's how much? 12 divided by the number of the ordinates. We are saying we have 6 equal, then it will be divided by 6, of which is giving us 2. So all equal parts will take 2 each here, 2 centimeters each. And then now that is 1 mark for that. And then 3.2.2, determine the value of H now. H is that particular value there. Okay, and then it is indicated that H is the average of the third and the fifth. 1, 2, 3, the third and the fifth ordinates. So now if H is the average of that, that means now we are taking the third ordinate 6, we add it to 7,22, and the average will be divided by 2 there. And then if you add this and divide by 2, end up with 6,61 centimeters. That means that is the height of this ordinate here. Okay, so it will be 1 mark for understanding and analyzing correctly, and then for dividing by 2, knowing that the average must be divided by 2, and finding the correct height of that ordinate as being 6,61. And then now another irregular shape, area of the irregular shape, grade 12. Hence, determine the area of the irregular figure. Remember, we have calculated this as 6,61. And then we know the equal parts here, we said each will be 2. Then it's 2, 2, 2, 2 throughout here. Right, and then from here now we need to determine the area of this irregular shape. Remember, we said the second one is the easiest one. Area of total surface, total irregular shape is equal to the A of equal parts equal to, into ordinate 1 plus the last ordinate divided by 2 plus ordinate 2 plus ordinate 3 plus continuously up to ordinate n minus 1. That means ordinate n minus 1 is this one, which is before the last ordinate. And then now A is equal to 2 into ordinate 1, 8, plus the last ordinate 2 over 2, ordinate 2, 4, followed by 6, followed by 6,61, plus the 7,22, plus the last one, which is 3,42. Okay, not the last one, but list before the last one, okay? And then now into your calculator, grade 12, straight to the answer. This must give you 64,5 square centimeters, because this is in centimeters. You can even use the first formula, you will end up with the same answer. That is 2 marks for substitution, 1 mark for the equal parts, and 1 mark for the answer. So this is worth 4 marks. And then now let's look at the activity together now. We'll do this activity together. A farmer has irregular shape of land on his farm that he wants to use. He determines that one straight side of the land is 1,2 kilometers, and then in length. He divides this straight side of the land into 4 equal parts. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then now resulting in 5 different ordinates of length. Okay, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. okay, with the ordinates 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, it forms 5 different ordinates length. So the first one is 772, 5,32, followed by Q, followed by 4,36, followed by 6,72. Now the first activity, we need to convert. Richard, that means you must know your conversions also. We need to convert the 1,2 kilometers to meters. How do we do that, grade 12? You must multiply your 1,2 by 1,000, multiply by 1,000, and then this will give you what? 1,200 what? Meters. Now those are the kilometers in meters. And then now you need to 3.2. If the area of the irregular shape is 6948, determine the numerical value of Q. That means you are going to use this irregular piece area to find the value of Q. So out of this 1,200 meters now, you must divide this into equal parts. Each will take how much, grade 12? The A will be 1,200 divided by 1, 2, 3, 4. And then 4, 8, 12, each will be 300 meters. So this will be 300, 300, 300, and another 300. So now if we take the formula A total is equal to A for the equal parts into the Q, we are looking at the Q, we are going to say the O1 plus the O number last over 2 plus the next ordinate 2, ordinate 3 plus continuous up to ordinate before the last one. Okay, here we are given the total area as 6,948 square meters, and the equal part is 300. And the O1 is 7,72 plus the last ordinate 6,72 over 2 plus the ordinate 2, which is 5,32 plus ordinate 3, which is Q, plus ordinate 4, 4,36 plus ordinate 6,72 meters. Oh, you can't put this one, it must be up to this one, which is ordinate and minus 1. So we stop here, grade 12, because this is already presented there. And then from here now, we are going to divide both sides by 300. Then this will be how much? 2316. And then we are adding everything on the right hand side so that we can get a Q there, and then we transpose that to the right. Okay, we have dealt with that one. We are having 2, 3, 1, and then we'll add 1, 2, 3 together and transpose to the left, grade 12. And then now this sum, you can bring it back here. Again, I'm not repeating, you take this bracket as it is down there, and then you transpose the sum to the left. Our Q will be 2299,11. Okay, because we are looking for that Q value there. Then you'll be adding 7,72 plus 6,72 over 2 plus 5,32 plus 4,36. And then you get your sum that will be something like 19, something. And then now you transpose to the left, and then it will give you 2299,11 there. So that is the total value of Q there. Okay, so grade 12, that is the value of Q for you in meters, right? And then now your homework activity will be the picture below. This one you can do at your own time, at home, at your comfort zone. And then now you can share on our WhatsApp group your solutions. How did you go with that one? It is having all three: application, volume, surface area, and the irregular shape area using the mid-ordinate rule. And then now grade 12 for today, you must know that the mensuration, you must know how to calculate volumes of all your shapes, the surface areas of all the nets of your shapes, and then now to calculate the area of the irregular shape, or to apply it to find the unknown or the unknown ordinate. And then now the preview of the next lesson, it will be on the 5th of June. Remember, grade 12, you are writing your paper 1 on the 6th of June. So now on the 5th of June, we will be having paper 1 revision from the same time, 2:30 to 4 o'clock. And then see you then, grade 12. And this lesson was brought to you by the Gauteng Department of Education in collaboration with Saibono Discovery Center. I thank you.